Whoo! Okay, where do I begin? These past mainly 2 days have been some of the most stressful tuning I've ever done, ever, with this new PSC Evo EVL34. Probably one of the longest names, but whatever. There are these yokes on this bow right here. This one is a little bit more canted. I don't know if that's just because it's a combination of my Hamskea and driven rest connected to this, but it's a little bit more canted. It's quite a bit, I guess, but I was getting a 2-inch right tear. Pretty bad. I put twists in the yokes. You can tune with this cable guard right here. Problem is you don't want to move it too far that way, because if you move it too far that way, the draw stops on your bow won't hit this cable, and if it doesn't hit the cable and go past the cable, your bow will pretty much lock out, which I've learned from this guy, Inside Out Precision on YouTube. So that's very sketchy. And so I've twisted the yokes. I messed with the cable guard. I had a feeling, I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to have to do it, but I had a feeling that my arrow might have been a little too weak. I think I might be, I know, not think, but at the time I was like, I think I might be a little underspined. Which, with my Mathews VXR, I've tuned with the same arrow setup. My older arrow setup was a little weaker. This arrow setup, I didn't get to shoot it out of my VXR before my limb started to splinter. So I was hoping that I could skate by having them a little on the weaker side. So what I did was, after twisting the yokes, messing with this cable guard, I literally took this entire cam system apart. Took all the strings off this cam system, this top cam, shimmed the cam over, which was by far an absolute nightmare. There's these tiny little washers inside this PSC that as soon as you take the axle out and you move the cam, as soon as you take this axle out right here, pop this clip off, you move the axle out, the cam stays still. As soon as you pop this cam off, all those tiny little washers go, hey, I'm just gonna fall on the ground. I knew that would have been an issue, so I laid out a towel so if they do fall, they don't just roll everywhere. Laid out a towel, popped the cam off, was messing with the spacers. After I messed with the spacers, I went from a 2-inch tear to about maybe a 1/2-inch tear, which I was like, okay. But I've seen this guy named Brandon McDonald on YouTube too. He shimmed his cam so far over that the yoke system was about to come off the cam, which I was like, I don't want to do that. So I shimmed it just enough to where I could went from literally about a 2-inch tear to a 1/2-inch tear. Did a bunch more research, kept trying to tune with it, messed with my grip, put the bow like this, I put the bow like this, I gripped it, I turned it, still getting, I would move the tear a little bit closer to that bullet hole. And then after all that work, I was so close to just dealing with that right tear. I was like, whatever, I'll just have to deal with it. after running through I shoot these Victory Rips Sports 350 spine. After finally running through all the scenarios that I could think of, I went to my spine chart, threw in all my weights that I have on my arrows. So I got 60 grains up front with 120 grain point, and I run the Max Stealth. I run these Max Stealth veins, 3 fletch. I actually shot a bullet, or I actually shot a bear shaft and took that tear, and was, I mean, maybe a 1/4 inch, still having a right tear. Went to the Victory spine chart, punched in all my numbers, and it recommended at 70 pounds, or it's like 69 pounds, with my whole arrow setup, draw length, insert weight, point weight, punch that all in. It's 69 pounds. It said I need a 300 spine, which I knew that in the future, but I tried to cut my arrows as small as I possibly could to the arrow rests, which would make them stiffer, trying to hopefully that'll alleviate that spine being too weak. After doing all of that research, I punched in 65 pounds, and it said it recommended that I use a 350 spine. So I bumped it back down. I bumped my weight tons. Right now it's about 66 pounds. After bumping it down 1 pound at a time, 1 pound at a time, the tear was getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, to the point where now, let's check this out. It's as perfect as I think I can get it without, I still got to get used to this bow. So let's move this. So let's move it like this. So I was having tear like this, a right tear, right tear, right tear, right tear, right tear. All of these are all right tears. I just kept having to flip this thing over and over and over again until I finally could shoot a different spot. After I moved it, I got this shot right here. Technically, it would be this way. So it's, I mean, a real tiny right tear. And then my last shot was, shoot, where was it? My last shot was this, which was a tiny right tear. I mean, I can't micro adjust my rest anymore. I moved it all the way over to the left. That's pretty much center shot on this bow. So I got the tiniest, I mean, tiny right tear, which ultimately could just be a form issue. Could be my hand gripping it a little weird. I'm still getting used to this bow. And I threw on this nose button, and that nose button, with it being slightly higher on my string, I didn't have so much nose pressure, which pretty much alleviated that right tear. Now I'm getting the slightest, I mean, it is so close to being a bullet hole. So my conclusion is I need a 300 spine arrow. For right now, I'm gonna run this PSC at 66 pounds, sight it all in, just shoot my 350 spines for now until I start breaking some of them. I've got 19 arrows to break. I'm waiting for my VXR limbs to come in. Once those comes in, I'm gonna shoot the same arrow through paper, see if I can tune out that right tear with the arrows that I have. If I can, I'm gonna run that bow at 70 pounds or maybe 69 pounds, we'll see. And then once I blow through all these arrows, I'm gonna shoot a 300 spine, bump it back up to 70 pounds, shoot a 300 spine, and then retune the whole bow again. I've never, for how tunable this bow is, I thought it was just gonna be 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 shots max. I'm gonna have a bullet hole. I spent literally, oh, that's awesome. My paper tuner just fell. I spent 2 days finishing work around 2, 3 o'clock, literally tuning till 12 o'clock at night. My neighbors were probably pissed. I'm shooting arrows at in this garage, so the reverb off these arrows smacking the paper and hitting the target is really bad. But I just had to get it done. I just wanted to tune this bow so I can use it. I was this close. I'm not gonna lie. At one point, I was on my hands and knees crying. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I thought it was maybe the rest. I was like, oh, maybe I'm having contact with the rest. So what I did is I put chalk on these arrows. I put chalk on the ground, rubbed these fletchings on the chalk, shot it through, no contact with my rest. It's like, okay. I've talked to this guy named Knights of the Apex. He was saying maybe it's a form issue. It's my first time ever shooting a PSC bow, so I was like, okay, I can try work with that. I talked to this guy, Brandon McDonald. He was having the same issue I'm having with it being a right tear. So what he did is he was saying he was gonna do it, 250 spine. And I was hoping and praying that I could tune this bow with shooting the same arrows I have with the same setup, 69 pounds. My draw length is right around 29 and a half. So this was a crazy process. I learned a lot though. I learned a lot about this bow and what this bow can do tuning wise, which is awesome. Now, once I get the right arrow set up, this bow will tune like a dream. I'm still waiting for my stabilizer. Still running this Bee Stinger, which is, it's fine. It works great. I have never felt so insignificant when it comes to bow tuning in my life. I tuned up my first ever bear, which was a solo cam. I tuned up my friend's Obsession bow. I tuned up my Matthews. I tuned up my friend Matthews. I helped my other friend with his PSE. But having it, this bow is a delight to shoot. It's so fun. It's such a smooth cam system. And with it being 66 pounds, it draws back like butter. It's crazy. And I have a huge shout out to Bomar nose buttons, because man, once I put that in, I swear I got a bullet hole. I don't know if it was just time. It was just over time I might get this bullet hole, or if it was, I chalk it up to this Bomar nose button. Because once that nose hits the string and it hits one of these sharp little points, you're kind of like, whoa, you don't put as much pressure on that string. And you get a bullet hole. Insane. It's my little rant of this bow and myself, of how I'm just speechless. I'm speechless. After going through those 2 days of losing my mind, to finally have it pay off once, just to shoot clean brake clean, everything was good, and to have that result is by far one of the best things. So I have twist in this right cape, in this right yoke. I don't even know how much twist. I'd say maybe like 6 twists in here, 6 twists in the bottom, which probably might be a little bit too much, but it's shooting good. I got my Hamskea set pretty far away. Let's see, yeah, pretty far away from the riser. I was gonna see if I could torque tune with this, which that's gonna be a whole nother process, which I'm dreading to do. I got my I can see, there you go. I got my pin sitting pretty low. Probably gonna have to bump this sight down because I lost 3 pounds. And I know some people like, oh, you're not shooting 70 pounds. Well, technically this bow is shooting 69 pounds, which, I mean, I dropped 3 pounds and I got it shooting really good. So I'm gonna leave it for now until I get those new arrows. And yeah, once those new arrows come in, the process starts all over again. And then once my limbs come in for my VXR, I already got strings in. I'm just waiting for those limbs to come in. Once those limbs come in, now I got a whole nother bow to build. So it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be just great. I can't wait. So that's my little rant. Go get a PSE, get the right arrows, get it tuned correctly. If you can do it yourself, awesome. If you can't, go to somebody who can and go shoot this bow. It's great.